and welcome to a video that I have never filmed before on this channel, and that is my most anticipated new releases of 2018. I've never filmed this before for a few reasons. The first is mostly that I would pick up so many new releases per year that there really wasn't any point in doing a most anticipated new releases video because I didn't have select favourites. The second is that usually what I would do is I would put myself on a kind of book buying ban early on in whatever year it was, and I would film most anticipated from my shelves videos, which is something that I am going to be resurrecting again for this year, so you can keep your eyes peeled for that. The very first book that I was most anticipating for this year is a memoir, and I already have it here in my sticky hands because it came out on the 11th of January and I am now filming this on the 13th. This is Remember This When You're Sad by Maggie Van Eyck, and this is a kind of original take on a mental health memoir because Maggie is writing this when she is 28 and in the middle of her biggest mental health crisis of her life. During this time she is taken to A&E over 12 times. She's admitted to burn units for self-harm. I can't imagine writing a book when I'm in the middle of a crisis. I can't imagine being that naked and that truthful, and Maggie has taken the time to do that for us, again, as I say, with her original tongue-in-cheek style. So I can't wait to read this one. It will happen very soon. There are maybe two sequels on this list, and the first one of them comes out on the 1st of February, and that is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire, which is of course book 3 in Seanan McGuire's Wayward Children series. I am telling you nothing about this because if you don't already know about it, that's probably because you don't want to read it, not because you haven't heard about it, because let's face it, BookTube is obsessed with these books. So I am highly anticipating this, but let's move on. The next book, which I can't believe exists and I can't wait to have it in my hands, also comes out on the 1st of February, and that is The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara. I found out about this one only a few days ago from the wonderful Eric, who I had never found on BookTube before and accidentally stumbled on thanks to his most anticipated of 2018 releases. He is super nice. You should go and check out his channel. But back to the book. This is a book which tackles a topic which I don't think I have ever seen in fiction before, and that is 1980s New York and the Harlem ball scene. We are introduced to a character called Angel who is brand new to the drag scene herself, and she is trying to navigate all of the very murky and very catty waters around her when she meets a young man called Hector who is desperate to become a professional dancer, and together they end up opening their own drag club. And I really hope that this is one of those ones where I can just settle in for a long journey. So yeah, I'll stop going on about it now before you tranquilise me. The next book that's coming out is a bit of an odd one, and I am a bit worried that it could be a bit of a hit or miss and the tone not quite go the place that I want it to go. But I'll stop worrying about it and just tell you about it. This is A False Report, and this is written by two Pulitzer Prize nominated or winning, I can't remember, journalists who look into the story of Marie. Marie was an 18-year-old woman who reported a rape, a house invasion and a rape, and was later subject to having her story poked holes in and taken apart by the police until she eventually admitted that she made it all up. Admitted. And later on, months or years later, two detectives are working on a series of home invasions and rapes when they make the connection to Marie's case, and this book follows Marie to try and find out exactly what is the real story. So hesitant but hopeful. The next book is the first thriller that I'm looking forward to, and I think it comes out on the 18th of February, and that is The Lost Girls of Camp Forevermore, which sounds very dreamy and sort of middle grady, but I promise it is not, because Kim Fu introduces us to a world of happy, clappy, sleepaway camps where everybody's making art and singing songs and making friends forever. And then 5 of those girls decide that they're going to go on a nighttime kayaking trip, and without any adults or supervision of any kind, they get stranded, and it is what happens to them over the next 24 hours, I think. The next book, which is coming out on the, let me check, the 20th of February apparently, is one that I am barely keeping myself in my seat for. That is Embers of War by Gareth L. Powell. This is the first sci-fi on my list, and it is about a ship, a sentient ship called Trouble Dog. And Trouble Dog was built specifically for a conflict. She was built for war, and eventually, having been used very, very much in this conflict, she becomes disillusioned with the entire thing and she decides to leave. She takes herself away to a remote colony where lots of other ships, I think, who have had the same idea have taken themselves to, and they have been stripped of their guns and their calculating equipment, and they are quite happily living a peaceable and useful life. Except several years later, when I think it's a rescue mission goes wrong. Trouble Dog finds herself being dragged back into a conflict, but with none of her previous capabilities. I can't wait. I love anything sci-fi about sentient AI, and I am so there for this book. Moving on to April, we have this one. This is The Wet Doesn't Burn in this one, which is the second poetry collection from Amanda Lovelace, which follows up her smash hit of The Princess Saves Herself in this one. I know that there are a lot of people out there who are extremely sceptical about Instagram poetry and the kind of short form, punchy political poems that it has produced, but I really love them, and I loved The Princess Saves Herself in this one. I have asked for a physical copy of it for my birthday, and this one comes out just after, so it'll be perfect to reread and then read that one on the back of it. On the 8th of April, we then have a thriller slash mystery, which I am really looking forward to, not least because the author is super lovely. This is Rainbirds by Clarissa Gungowan. This one follows Ren Ishida, who is a graduate student. He's almost finished his studies, and he is unfortunately told that his sister has been killed. He packs up everything that he is doing in his life and leaves to go to the small village where she was living and try to piece together what exactly has happened to her and who are these strange characters around her in her life. Now, this one I'm particularly excited about because it seems to have the kind of magical realism-ish elements that The Doll Funeral by Kate Hamer tried to do and really drastically missed the mark on, because Ren is also receiving these dream visions of this young girl who is desperately trying to give him a message which he doesn't understand, but which he slowly starts to realise pertains to his sister's murder. So I will read my review copy of this one and wait for the shiny one to land in my sticky little paws, and I will tell you guys all about it as soon as I have done it, because this one just looks so good. The next one that I am a little bit confused about, and maybe you guys can help me. I think the confusion has happened because of the UK-US release dates and, you know, crossover covers and stuff like that. So the next book, which I am highly anticipating coming out in April, is Amber Lowe. This is Eleanor Lara Donnelly's first book in the Amber Lowe Chronicles, I believe, which are a sci-fi-ish noir mystery series. This one has a tagline on it that I'm not going to try to reproduce. I'm going to break my own rules and just read you it because it sounds stonkingly good, and there's just no way that I can do justice to how good it sounds all on my own. A double agent sacrifices all his ideals in order to save his smuggler lover before a government coup takes over their decadent city in Lara Elena Donnelly's glam spy sci-fi thriller debut. It is about a smuggler, a spy, and a dancer, and I am there for it. Coming out on the 13th of April is a book which I am extremely nervous about. I think this is another one that could go either way, but I am super crossing my fingers that it is good, and this is Poor Relations by Jo Walton. I'm crossing my fingers because I know that Jo Walton has taken on a lot of fantasy / sci-fi things which have been really well received in the past, and so I'm hoping that she takes this potentially extremely controversial topic and does something really good with it. This is a sci-fi, and it is about three brothers who live in a world where literally everything has a price, and they find themselves in the horrible position of being pretty powerless when their father dies. Then a guy called Luke comes along, and the guy called Luke is extremely rich, and he says he will buy up their father's estate and he will give the eldest brother the commission that he has always been desperate for in the Navy, as long as the two younger brothers will both agree to change genders and become women so that he can marry one and keep the other one as a house slave for the rest of their lives. And this then follows these two men who have become women and how they navigate the rest of their lives. This sounds so screwed up, but I'm looking forward to seeing if it can be done well. Finally, in April, right at the end, we have The Trauma Cleaner by Sara Cronin, I think. I'll put it here because I'm unsure if I've pronounced that correctly or not. This one has got me really, really intrigued because it is not a non-fiction true crime, nor is it really a memoir, but it's an amalgamation of all of the above. Essentially, Sarah is a woman who was many things in her life. She is transgender, she is a sexual reassignment patient, she has been, I believe, a drag queen and a mother and a wife, and she's now a trauma cleaner. The person who literally goes in and does the least glamorized piece of the crime. We miss this essential bit in the middle that nobody talks about, which is the person who has to go in and clean up this disaster area to make it habitable for human beings again. And this is literally what this book is about, and I am so preaching about it before it's even come out. Just deliver it into my sticky hands right now. Moving on to May, and the first book that I am super excited about but also confused about is The Marsh Room. So Rachel Kushner has written this book, and I do not know whether it is a mystery or a thriller or whether it's literary fiction, just extrapolating from a crime. So this book is about Romy, who has been convicted of 2 murders and has been sentenced and sent to prison. She has been disconnected from everybody in her life, including her little boy Jackson, and she doesn't know what's going on the outside. In the inside, however, she is now faced with this really weird hierarchy where everybody has to hustle just to survive in this horrible, horrible prison environment. We follow Romy through this adventure, and I do not know whether there is a mystery or a thriller element in that we are finding out about the crime and maybe Romy didn't do it or what. So I'm unsure about that bit, but I'm still pretty there for it, let's be perfectly honest. The next book is one of those annoying ones, which is a conflict between the US and the UK dates. So this one comes out in the UK on the 30th of May, but it comes out way sooner in the US, so if you're desperate for it, have a look. This is White Houses by Amy Bloom, and it is about Eleanor Roosevelt in the 1930s when she is on Franklin Roosevelt's campaign trail. She is being the wife, the example for everybody else in America. When she is interviewed by a journalist called Lorena Hickok, who doesn't quite see her the way that everybody else sees her, and the 2 women have a romance which then has to try and outlast everything which the Roosevelts went through. after the campaign trail. Back to some fantasy now, and one that I am desperately hoping is as good as it sounds. This is City of Lies by Sam Hawke, and it has been pitched to people who love Robin Hobb and Naomi Novik for reasons which will soon become clear to you. This one is about a poisoner. So the tagline of this one says, "I was 7 years old the first time my father poisoned me," which caught my attention immediately, but for fellow Robin Hobb fans, you will see why there were some danger bells going on in my mind. This is about Jovan, who has a very sort of low-key status as the Chancellor's son's best friend. He's just a quiet kid who hangs about, and actually he is a master poisoner who is there to make sure that the Chancellor and his family do not go through any more hardship than they need to. This one then goes on to say, "But the ancient spirits of the land are rising and treachery is around every corner." I'm really hoping that this takes the starting point of Robin Hobb's really familiar poisoner thing and runs in another direction with it, because if it does, it's going to be A++ on my list. That was my flap, because later on in this month, Chris Wooding is bringing out another book. Chris Wooding of the Tales of the Ketty J series. Chris Wooding is bringing out a fantasy book called The Ember Blade. This is about a young man called Aaron who has followed the rules of the world without questioning much of anything. But then all of a sudden his father is charged with treason and his world turns upside down. The blurb is much bigger than this, and if you want to find out about it, I'ma link you down in the comments, because I don't want to know anything else about it. I just want to sink into Chris Wooding universe. I know there's a heist, that's all I want to know. Let's just move on. And of course, I cannot leave this month without saying that on the 26th, Record of a Spaceborne Few comes out by Becky Chambers, which is the third book in the Wayfarers series. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's a sequel, but I'm excited! Now, in amongst all of this, there are of course a few books that I haven't mentioned. One of them is Herding Cats by Sarah Anderson, which is the next in her Sarah's Scribbles series. We also have I Didn't Think This Through by Beth Evans, which is a graphic memoir from Beth's Instagram comic collection. And also there is Cry Fox, I think, which is another of the Rivers of London graphic novels by Ben Aronovich coming out. I think that's it. I think that's everything that I have to talk about. So if there's anything which you are highly anticipating, especially for the first half of the year, and you think I would like it and I have missed it, please leave it in the comments below. And if there's anything on this list which you are also really highly anticipating, please tell me that too, because I would like to fangirl with you quite a lot, because wow, this year has a lot of good new releases. Like a lot. So on that cheery note, I will leave you, and I will be back very soon with some most anticipated books from my shelves video, because I really have got myself super re-excited for my own collection, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about all of those books too. Speak to you soon. Bye!